Hello, and welcome to the first episode of the Shadow Council.
We are here tonight representing the Council, and while you may recognize our voices from past Vault Tour commentary, you probably haven't seen our beautiful faces. So we'd like to take this opportunity to introduce ourselves. I am Mick, and I've been playing Keyforge since its first release and helping this guy produce most of his live content.
Thank you, Mick, for all the help over the years. My name is Andrew, or One Star Peeps. I too have been playing Keyforge since its creation. We are excited to bring you the Shadow Council, a competitive Keyforge news show. We'll be here every week to help you keep up to date on the competitive Keyforge world. Our primary focus for the next couple weeks will be the Ancient Bear Republic League, which just started its fourth season.
So to give you a little bit more understanding of the Ancient Bear Republic League, it's a league full of 10 teams, each consisting of 10 people from all around the world. And every week we get a brand new format.
And the most important question you're probably asking yourselves is, how do I win? Or how does my team win? So, the way this works is every week your team of 10 people will be matched up against an opposing team of 10 people. And every time one of your players on your team wins, your team gets a point. In addition to that, there's something called the feature match. This is generally going to be the most skilled player on your team in that format, playing the best deck that your team has access to. And that feature match is worth an extra point. It's our very fun tiebreaker system that we use in the league.
So another interesting feature of the league is they actually restrict the deck usage. So you're only allowed to use a deck once unless you make it to the playoffs where you can use it one more time. And some interesting formats that we can expect to see are, the standard single elimination, best of three, Archon, and Triad. But some more interesting team formats are a team Saskap, a less than three Amber controlled decks, a team sealed match, as well as a team house limit.
All right, so I guess we're going to dive a little bit more into those because what is Team Saskap? Who's actually played that except Ancient Bear Republic League? So, Team Saskap. Let's see, this 2 seasons ago in Ancient Bear Republic League Season 2, Team Saskap of 1,000 SAS. So the combined total of every deck that your team is playing for the week has to be 1,000 SAS or less.
I mean, that seems pretty easy to do with only 10 people. That means every deck can be 100 SAS.
That's true. This time, I forget what the cap was.
I think the cap was right around 650 or 7, right around 700. I think the average SAS was right around 70.
Yeah, that sounds.
But it brings some interesting team strategies, team dynamics, if you will. You have your stronger players. You kind of want to give them the stronger decks. You're like, all right, well, I can sacrifice, my SAS rating, so I give my team captain, a 85 SAS or a 90 SAS deck, so that he's pretty much going to win, or chances are he's going to win. And then what I found is I have a handful of those kind of wonky decks that are 60 SAS, 61 SAS, but have like some weird combos. Or like my favorite one is the Soul Snatcher double gateway and a Sanctum with just like I think it has 10 or 11 creatures. So it's not a good deck, but it's got some sneaky combos in there that I can catch my opponent off guard. And since it is a lower SAS rating deck, I can sneak it into this competition, and it might actually be pretty competitive this week.
Right, that's great. When you bring in those lower SAS decks, then you basically are giving your feature match player extra SAS points to work with. Especially if you can punch up. This is the goal. Find the best deck that punches up with these sneaky combos that you've got.
Right. So another interesting format is the under or less than three Amber control decks. So these are decks, as the name implies, that have a rating of less than three Amber control. So these can be arranged from anything. These can be very draw heavy decks with a lot of logos in it. There'd be a lot of heavy rush decks. But it really plays an interesting style because Amber Control is such a big part of the game that
Mhm.
it kind of throws a curveball into the mix.
It was definitely very challenging for me searching through my collection and my team's collection for something that was usable, or at least that I thought would be good enough. Um,
Right.
Turns out a lot of decks I like playing that have high expected amber also have high amber control, or at least reasonable amount of amber control. Other Shadows is a little bit of too much of both. And I definitely got very much stumped by the type of deck that you were talking about with lots of draw. Lots of logos, lots of reverse time, lots of pips everywhere. It was not a fun time, but I'm sure you'll have lots of fun.
I have a lot of fun because I had a great rush deck that
Right.
had I think two key cheats and just massive amount of just pips from hand and obviously no amber control. But playing against others who also had no amber control, I was able to rush out 12 amber in a turn and go, all right, well, I think I might win this.
What can you do? Yeah, that sounds like fun. And if Seal's more your type of thing, we could try out the Team Sealed format, which was a ton of fun. And definitely one of the highlights of the season for me. I forget the exact total, but essentially your whole team's given a pool of, say, 30 decks, so it's like going to a Vault Tour, play Sealed. Everyone's essentially given 3 decks and picks their favorite, but your whole team has 30 decks to choose from and picks their top 10. This is a really good collaborative experience, working with your teammates, trying to find the hidden gems inside. I almost wish there was like a full week of like just working with your team to try and find the best decks instead of just like a couple days that you get.
Right, right. I actually really like that too. You know, it's a little hard to break into the social scene in an online tournament with 10 strangers, some of them out of the country.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yes, the team sealed really fostered that collaboration between your team because all 10 of you were looking at your pool of decks going, oh man, I really like this combo, or oh, I really like Steam Star Alliance in a deck, like can I play this deck, or what do you think of this? And and then you also get
Mm-hmm.
your star players, if you will, your captains, and your more experienced players, you know you know notifying the team like, oh hey, this deck is really good, these combos work really well. So it's also a really good learning experience from your other teammates. So
And
another
then
interesting format you can expect to see in Ancient Bear Republic is the team house limit format. So Andrew, tell us what that is.
the entire pool of decks that your team submits cannot have more than 3 decks sharing a house, the same house. So like your entire pool can only have 3 Brobnar decks, and your entire pool can only have 3 Saurian decks, and your entire pool can only have 3 of each house. Period. And that's how it works. If that makes sense.
Okay.
There were some exceptions. You were allowed to have up to 2 houses be represented 4 times between all the decks submitted, but those only are reserved for like shadows, logos, disc stuff, and then it's just this. It was a really weird experience. I like to try and just be. When I was doing this on my team, my entire team basically acted the same way I want to act. Oh, I'll just go find my most zany Brobnar Mars deck and let someone else play the more good or the generally better disc, logos, Starlight stuff. It was really weird because literally everyone did the same thing, and so then like the most contested houses were like Brobnar and Mars. I'm not sure if that's how it worked for you on your team, but this was also at the end of the season, so at that point in time we'd become a lot closer, and it was a really cool, positive experience for me. Trying to figure out what decks to play in House Limit.
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting experience. I mean, I again, a lot of collaboration within the team. Um, but yeah, it was definitely an interesting, a lot of sharing of like, okay, well, I have these 3 decks, with X house in them, and then a lot of people going, well, this one looks a little bit better for this, or the Mars in this looks a little bit stronger, but the shadows in this deck, isn't quite as strong as this other shadows deck. And I think for the house limit format, I actually borrowed one of the team captain's decks because it had the right houses, but it was a stronger deck than any of the ones I owned. So it was very fun.
Yes, it's yeah, that's actually a really good point. is this whole experience is you don't bring your decks and play with just your decks. It's very encouraged, and you probably should be looking to borrow decks from someone at a couple times throughout the tournament. Every team captain is definitely trying to get a large pool of decks for their team, so um, yeah, look out for that. There's definitely going to be plenty of decks to choose from. I think we must have had over 1,000 decks to choose from on my team.
Oh wow. No, I know. I think my captain alone had maybe 200 decks,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think the few players that were actively sharing decks. Yeah, I think our pool was easily 400 or 500 decks. But yeah, I mean that really comes into play because you're only allowed to use your deck once. So if you've got two or three
Exactly.
favorite decks, as I'm sure everyone does, you're going to want to save those for the Archon days or the best of 3 days,
Mm-hmm.
and that's really when it comes into play where hey, can I borrow somebody else's deck that they don't isn't their favorite, but satisfies some of these other requirements.
So, who's the most important person on your team? And that's going to be your captain. Let's
Wrong. It's you. It's yourself.
yeah, for
You are the most important person. But the second most important person on the team
it's the person doing the feature
is
match. Yeah.
second most important person, feature match. Third most important person on the team every week.
The
That's the
captain.
captain.
All right, we have a list of captains, and we actually got a chance to do a quick written interview with most of them. So we're going to take this we would like to take this opportunity and help all of you get to know all the captains that you may or may not be working with for the next 8 or so weeks. First up, we have Julie July. She's a very skilled Seal player. She'll be valuable when the team needs to select decks for the more out there formats. And she does love dogs, so she's very friendly. They're very excited to be your team captain, and they look forward to working with you. They actively play with the Bay Witches, which is a team based out of Baltimore. So you should consider yourself lucky if you happen to be on Julie July's team.
The second captain of the ABR League this season is Z. He has a fantastic record from the previous ABR seasons, and he's coached 4 different players to Vault Tour wins. He's currently a member of Team SAS and the co-host of Archon's Corner podcast. So he's always ready to talk about Keyforge, all day, every day. His favorite format is Reversal, that only makes him better at spotting the hidden gems and game-changing moves. So if you're part of Z's team, be ready for a high-caliber competition.
The next captain we'd like to talk about today is Dressker, another skilled Seal player that can help you get that edge in non-traditional Archon weeks. In addition to that, they also host a podcast with Jupiter. So, again, another player that's going to enjoy spending lots of time talking about Keyforge with you. They have a lot of insightful things to say and will help you get the most out of your decks. They're excited for this opportunity to give back to the community and are looking forward to working with you. Also, if you need to get that edge off, they are very experienced in making craft cocktails, so be sure to talk to them about that. I'm sure they have a couple recipes they'd be happy to share.
Consider yourself lucky if Gorlami is your captain. He's a real cool, down-to-earth guy, ready to talk strategy and frankly just have a good time. He's made it to the top cut in almost every Prime champion he's been to, and he brings that same winning attitude to his team. His favorite format may be Triad, but his record shows that he's competitive in almost every format. So be prepared to have a winning strategy every week.
Mark H. is an all-around good guy that is very community-focused. He jumped at the opportunity to be a captain due to his love of strategizing and organizing teams. He sees the ABR League as the best Keyforge League and will do what he can to make sure you see it that way too. His goal is to build a team that is uplifting and encourages positive thinking, a team where you learn and work together so you may succeed together.
The next captain we'd like to talk about is Dave C. He's often considered one of the greatest Keyforge players in the world and is the self-proclaimed greatest team captain to ever grace this planet, end quote. Despite these lofty titles, his greatest Keyforge accomplishment is the one time he defeated Roy at a local chain bout, not one of his 5 Vault Tour top 16s or his second place finish at the Sanctimonious Invitational. He's also experienced success here in the league. Last season he led his team to the playoffs, and this season he plans on doing the same thanks to a superior drafting strategy and an atmosphere of collaboration.
I want to introduce you to another one of this season's captains, Saika. This gentleman took top 4 at an Archon Vault Tour, but just to give himself an extra challenge, he took a Brobnar Shadows and Untamed Coda deck, just to show you that low efficiency decks can in fact win. Psycha's favorite format is adaptive, so be sure to hit him up to argue about chain value, and in fact, hit him up for just about anything. He's always looking to make new friends in the Keyforge community.
Up next is Aviator. He's one of the two original captains and organizers of the ABR League. Through the ABR League, he hopes to set the tone of future competitive Keyforge events. He is also a very skilled player. He has one deck with 13 chains on it, and has a Vault Tour top 16 under his belt. In addition to these large-scale ventures, he also enjoys the smaller things in Keyforge. In particular, he really enjoys when that one bad card in your deck finally finds its moment to shine in a particular matchup. Aviator will try his best to help you appreciate all things Keyforge, large and small.
One more captain to introduce is Ryze. He's a champion of the wacky formats they've cooked up for this season, and an ABR League veteran. He loves talking decks, lineups, combos, and strategy. He says his greatest accomplishment is taking a comeback second place in the ABR League, but can't wait to take home the gold. If you're in Ryze's team, consider yourself in good hands.
Up next, we have an interview between me and Devin, or Flaming Hobo. He's been a captain for ABR for every single season that's existed. He's been here working very hard since the inception of this league. And we're happy to have him here today, and we're excited to get down on what is ABR and what does it mean to be a captain? How has that changed over the seasons? Devin, welcome to the Shadow Council. We're happy to have you here today. You are one of the two people that have been a captain every single season of the ABR League. You've also been very instrumental in providing a lot of more admin services, doing all the recaps, and you post a lot of the weekly updates about the formats and what's going to happen. So thank you for that, and thank you for being here. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you for having me here. Appreciate you having me. First guest star, it seems like.
Hell yeah. First episode of the Shadow Council. I'd start off with someone big. Let's see. How do you view, or what is ABR League to you? I guess that might be a big question. Make it.
So, well, it started off as just NorCal versus SoCal. I was Zotted just kind of reached out to me and was like, "Hey, I want to do a NorCal versus SoCal event. Do you want to help organize it for SoCal, and I'll take care of it for NorCal?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's fine. Like, that sounds like a sweet idea." And then basically last minute, he was like, "I can't do this. I'm gonna leave it in your hands."
Oh.
And I was like, "Okay, that's fine. I don't mind doing this at all."
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when I reached out to Aviator, the other person who's been a captain for all 4 leagues now. And I was like, "Well, you want to help me out with this?" And so we got the first league going with I think it was 38 people was the total with 2 teams.
Right.
Pretty much came up with the different formats, and the last minute can't repeat decks, which has become pretty standard and I think really enjoyed amongst the leagues. That was kind of just a last minute wrench that I threw in things.
That's definitely been a lot of fun.
Just to spice things up, make people dig through their collection a little more, and
can't just use a card death every single week.
Exactly. So same with the alternating formats. It makes you play decks that you don't know you had. You might find something else or whatever it be. But so then second league, we expanded outside of California. Pretty much was, I think, 60 people for League 2 with 4 teams.
Right.
League 3 was 80 people and 8 teams. And we liked the way that the numbers worked out for that one. So this time we're 10 teams with 100 people. So 10 players per team.
Sure, let's talk about the draft for a minute. Has that actually evolved too much over time? So as far as I can tell, you convene your secret council of your own shadow council, if you will, pardon the expression, to draft all the players. We actually got to see a spreadsheet released in the general chat. This looks like some sort of cool way to manage the draft. Is that how it normally happens, or
sorry, season 3 was the same, and I believe season 2 was as well with the draft.
Cool. I see here that they have a bunch of players listed by format.
That's for just more information for the captains for building their team, looking ahead all the way into playoffs and stuff.
Cool.
So that was just to hopefully fill any holes that we might have on our team in terms of preferred format or anything like that.
Do you think there was a rush on jank experts, seeing as that was the least populated?
I definitely think that was that played more of a factor in the later rounds rather than the earlier rounds. Especially round 1 is you're drafting somebody that you feel like can go 7-0 in the league or 6-1 or something, and win all or most of their games.
How do you determine a pick order for that? Is it random, or the captain that performed the worst last season gets first pick, or
by rank you got to pick where you were in the draft? So my team last year finished last, so I got to choose which spot I wanted to be in the draft 1 through 10. The 3 new captains that we have, we decided to stick them in right before the teams that made the playoffs. But I still think everybody was pretty happy with how their teams turned out, despite where they were in the draft. So
your team is basically a lot of people you've never been on a team with before. Looking forward to that?
See, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm curious to just meet new people, work with new people, and all that kind of stuff.
To the new people on your team, what kind of culture do you want to cultivate in your team chat?
It's a casual league. You should still have fun playing what you want, Take the opportunity to try someone else's deck that you don't own or something like that, and still try to get people to step away from their immediate comfort zone and look at their other options. But if they're insistent that they want to play something, I'll let them play it. I have no issues,
right?
Giving them freedom of choice. So just want my team to be happy. I feel like I know the game pretty well, so any sort of questions I can answer. If anybody needs any tips for anything for how to play their deck or for a specific matchup, they all know that I'm there for that. And hopefully it's not just me. Hopefully the rest of the team will be active and get that feedback in there as well.
Thank you for everything you've done for the AVR League and being a captain. Anyone who's on your team should count themselves lucky. You've been a great captain to me for the past 3 seasons, and I hope to see you guys in the playoffs. If all this talk of competitive Keyforge got you excited, but you missed out on your opportunity to sign up for the Ancient Bear Republic League, fret not. There are 2 exciting tournaments happening this weekend. First, on Saturday, is another Keyforge Premier League qualifier. This one is a team event. Each team will have 2 players in it, and each player will bring 1 deck with 75 SAS or lower. And the weird twist that they're throwing this time around is the winners of the tournament, or the people who do the best in this tournament, are the people who forge the most keys, not necessarily which team wins the most. So that'll be interesting and fun to see how that kind of shakes up the meta. On top of that, or in addition to, on Sunday, there is a tournament hosted by The Final Swindle, a relatively new group, or at least relatively new to me, hosting another tournament. This is 75 SAS or lower, 2-deck survival. Be sure to check them out. Sunday the 14th for The Final Swindle and Saturday the 13th for Forging with Friends. Thank you all so much for watching, and remember, the council is watching.
Yeah, we'll meet you there. I hope, but I always feel bad for everybody that's on my team because then they're stuck being a hobo for the next however many weeks.